Hello, my name is Grace Vance, and I'm going to be discussing intrinsic and extrinsic motivation based off the Ryan and DC article about self-determination theory. In my presentation today, I aim to explain the theory to you, provide a relatable classroom example, discuss my research findings, and share practical strategies that we as educators can use to enhance our students' motivation. So first, what is motivation? Motivation encompasses the reasons behind behavior. So focusing on the amount of motivation or the quality of motivation. Ryan and DC highlight that two students might be completing the exact same assignment, but for different reasons. So for example, a student might be completing the assignment because of the pure joy that they get from learning, and others complete the assignment for the reward that they might get or the grade, or because they are trying to avoid consequences. So recognizing these motivations and the reasons behind them are crucial for educators as they influence various learning outcomes. Intrinsic motivation is when students participate in activities and assignments because they enjoy it, deriving their rewards from the learning experience itself. So Ryan and Desi note that students that have this intrinsic motivation are more engaged, they're more persistent, and they're more likely to achieve that deeper learning that we desire to see out of them. For example, a student might read a book solely for the pleasure of exploring the topic. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, involves students engaging in tasks for that external reward that they might get, such as praise or grades or a tangible item. While it can be beneficial sometimes, Ryan and DC suggest that educators should guide students to internalize the value of learning and foster a more self-directed motivation over time. Ryan and DC also describe that intrinsic motivation exists on this motivation continuum. So it ranges from highly controlled to more internalized forms of motivation. As students start to value their learning more and link it to their personal goals, that intrinsic motivation or desire for rewards shifts to becoming more self-determined motivation and starts to resemble that intrinsic motivation of doing things for enjoyment that we want to see. Ryan and DC's self-determination theory identifies three basic psychological needs for students. So autonomy, meaning that they have meaningful choices and ownership in their learning, competence, or feeling capable and successful in their learning, and relatedness, so feeling connected to their teachers and peers. When we as educators support these things that our students need, we foster intrinsic motivation and self-determined intrinsic motivation. So as an example, as a third grade teacher, I have seen that students often begin reading because they know about external rewards like AR points or classroom rewards or things of that nature. And while these incentives can boost initial engagement in the activity, students will become more motivated when we give them that choice of what book they want to read or the choice to discuss their reading with a partner and give them that opportunity to experience success for themselves. And ultimately, this is going to foster a love for that reading or for that activity and be driven by intrinsic enjoyment instead of that extrinsic motivation. So, the 2019 empirical study by Liu and colleagues focused on 2,137 students ranging from 4th to 6th grade, and it aimed to identify motivational profiles and how they were connected to math achievement. So using quantitative methods, the study employed latent profile analysis to uncover these patterns that they were seeing. The researchers examined intrinsic, identified, and controlled motivation in relation to their students' math achievement using latent profile analysis to group their students by the shared motivational traits that they were seeing. Some limitations of this study is that it was focused on mathematics. The samples were from China, and they observed students at a single point rather than over time. The research found that there were 5 motivational profiles, finding that students with the high quality motivation showed the best academic performance due to their strong intrinsic desire and identified motivation. They concluded that the quality of the motivation, or the why behind the motivation, is more crucial than the quantity or amount of motivation that the student had. So that's important to us as educators because we should be focusing on creating learning experiences that foster that autonomy, competence, and relatedness that we had talked about before, to cultivate the high quality motivation that we want to see for better student outcomes and achievements, which aligns with the self-determination theory. Research indicates that teachers can enhance this student motivation by offering meaningful choices, by providing specific feedback to students, and by fostering those positive relationships with our students. Gillette and colleagues, another research that I read, found a strong link between teacher autonomy support and students' intrinsic motivation, aligning with that self-determination theory that we talked about. When teachers promote autonomy in students, or that choice, students are more likely to develop that high quality motivation that leads to better overall academic achievement. So why is this important for us? Motivation impacts students' engagement, their persistence, their effort, and their overall well-being in their education. Educators should aim to foster environments that cultivate lasting, self-directed motivation rather than just simply relying on handing out those rewards or grades or praise. We need to focus on finding lessons that students actually love. And here are my references. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned more about motivation.